what we are going to share. We're gonna start off where we left off. We're gonna start where we left off last evening. Now, we have been looking at the topic really. The broad topic is, who am I? And we have said that in order to understand who we are, we have to understand God, because we were made in the image and likeness of God. We are like God, and we are looking at the different attributes of God. And one of the things that God is love. And so we've been looking at the different types of love, and we're not going to go over them. We did agape and filial. We did a number of different types of love. And one of the type of love that we looked at last evening was eros, that sexual feeling, that feeling, or that love, excuse me, that love that we talk about with this feeling that we have, this desire for someone else. And one of the things that the dictionary said about eros is that it is a lustful feeling. And I'm just paraphrasing. This is what the dictionary says. When they talk about eros, they talk about this desire, this sexual desire. And so we started talking about that last evening. We started talking about what really is lust. And according to the dictionary, this is the dictionary definition of lust. We saw lust meaning three things. One, an obsessive sexual craving. An obsessive sexual craving. Two, a desire for what is forbidden. A desire for what is forbidden. And three, a desire for things that are contrary to the will of God. So those three things, the dictionary, I didn't say that was my definition. That's the dictionary's definition. One, an obsessive sexual craving. Two, a desire for what is forbidden. And three, a desire for things that are contrary to the will of God. And so we had a little discussion on that last evening. We were talking about it. And where we left off last night, I remember it was Sister Mitzi asked a question. And frankly, there are two questions that we need to start off with this evening. One is that she was asking, and I'm just paraphrasing based on what I remember her asking, why it is some people enjoy sex before they get married. They're hot, everything's on fire. And when they get married, they get cold. It's like ice, they're frigid. And we didn't have time to get into that last evening. But I want to start off there today, and I just want to suggest a couple of things to us, why things like that happen. And the thing is, before marriage, people enjoy sex without inhibition, without responsibility. They're stealing it. They're having sex with people that are not the spouse. So whatever the situation, they have that sexual encounter, and then you go back to your home, they go back to their home. There are even some people in the world who have friends with benefits, I think they call them, where you're feeling horny, you call your friend, come over now, and you all have sex, and there's no commitment. There's no, let's have a relationship. It's just purely sexual. And that happens, and they enjoy sex. And sex is the number one priority. And then some of these people, they get married, and as Sister Mitzi says, somehow they just get cold. Why is that? But I want to suggest to you that, one, marriage is not about sex. It is not about sex. So when some people get married, and all the things that marriage entails, the responsibilities of life, the bills, the job, whatever job or not, taking care of the home, washing wares, cleaning the house, and all these things, maybe children, all these things decrease your desire for sex. And I'm talking about in some people, it shouldn't. But that's what happened with some people. Because before it was just purely enjoyment. Now, this person that you were enjoying anything with, you have to take care of them, or you have to submit to them in the case of the woman. And it brings a whole new dynamic into the relationship. For some men, the thrill of the chase is over. You know, before that, it was somebody that you were excited about because you're going after them. But now you get the prize, so you know there's no more excitement. You don't have to go after them again. You have the cow, so there's no more excitement in stealing the milk, if I could put it that way. In fact, Solomon in the scripture says, stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious. That's what the wisest man said. Stolen water is sweet. So it is sweet when you're stealing it. Food eaten in secret is delicious. But he goes on to say, but little do they know that the dead are there and that her guests are in the depths of the grave. In other words, you know, you enjoy it, but the end, another verse says, there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. But that's exactly it. So you have all the excitement before, but you get married and it's just, and for some women, they have the name now. So they don't have to, you know, go after him, or they don't have to do all the things they used to do. They have the name. I remember when I was growing up, in the village where I grew up in Belmont, I distinctly remember this thing, vividly remember it. This girl, she got married to this other guy in the village. And I don't know what happened, but she was quarreling with somebody that particular day. And she said, hey, you know, I have the ring, I have the ring. And she pointed to the ring, and that was a big thing. She has the ring. That's what she wanted. So whatever she did before, she did it so that she could get the ring. So for some women, it's the ring and the name. And after they get that, you know, as like people say, and I disagree with this thing, you get married and settle down. You don't settle down when you get married. Settling down is for dregs. You don't settle down. Now is the time things are supposed to pick up. And the thing is, we have to remember too that God's plan is for sex to be enjoyed between a man and his wife. It says so in Genesis. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two of them shall become one flesh. That's sexual relation. And in marriage, you're supposed to explore one another and grow to learn one another and grow old together and enjoy sex together. Anything outside of God's plan will never work in the long run. And that's what happened with some people when they have sex before marriage. The excitement is not there anymore because they explored all sorts of things. The joy of learning each other in marriage is no longer there. Sex within marriage is supposed to bring you not just excitement, but comfort and joy. But the excitement was experienced before. Then that excitement is not there anymore. So that's why some people are cold, because they're not operating under the covenant that God, the plan that God made for sexual relations. So all the things that they enjoyed before, they can't enjoy it anymore because it's just not the same. It's not exciting anymore. Now, those are just some of the reasons. There are other reasons too, but this main, I want you to think about that in answering the question. This is what came to mind. And that's why we have to be careful. That's why God in his wisdom says, no sex before marriage, no adultery, no fornication. And this is what I tell young people too. You see, watching pornography and masturbation, it takes away the joy of marriage. Because when you experience all this before, you go from up here to down when you get married. Because the exciting thing, the things that used to excite you before, you try to get it into your marriage and it doesn't work. And you are destroying your life by getting involved with sex, with pornography and masturbation before marriage. So I hope that answers that part of the question. The other question that I want to tackle before we move on is, someone had asked when we were talking about these feelings, these sexual feelings, these urges, is it wrong for a single person to have sexual feelings? I think that's the question. I'm not too sure. And I'm hoping that's the question. Is it wrong for a single person to have these? Is it lust? Well, these sexual feelings that we have, both male and female, are God-given. They are natural. God designed it that way. He even placed it in the animals. God designed it that way so that you would be attracted to your spouse. A man would be attracted to his wife would be attracted to him. In fact, even before marriage, they will have that attraction, that eros for one another. It's a natural thing. Nothing is wrong with it. But you have to remember, as Jesus said, it is not what goes into a man that defiles him. It's what comes out. What do I mean by that? You will see people that will excite you, even arouse you. You will see people of the opposite sex, and I am talking about heterosexual relationships now. You will see people of the opposite sex that just attract that eros kind of attraction, that love. You will see people. But what do you do? What does it make you want to do? Does it conjure up images in your head of you having sex with them? That's what Jesus was talking about. He said, if you look at a man or you look at a woman, he said, but we know a man too, and you desire to have sex with them, you have already committed adultery in your heart. He didn't say if they turn you on, you know. He didn't say if you like them and you find them nice to look at and pleasure. He said, if it is now your desire and you start thinking about it, you start visualizing it, you start fantasizing about it, that is where the problem comes. That's where the sin lies. So it's not what goes in, because if what goes into us defiled us, then we would all be defiled. Why? Because what goes into us comes in through our five senses: sense of smell, taste, touch, hearing, seeing. That's how things come to us, through our five senses. And we cannot shut off our senses. So we will see things that will please us, see things that we are not supposed to even see. But you can't help. If you go and walking down the road, you're walking through Port of Spain or wherever you are, you can't close your eyes, and you will see things that that will cause you to look twice and look three times. But it's not the seeing the thing that is the sin. It's when you see it and you start to, as we say in mentor, you make a movie out of it. Because it's like you see a picture and then you just start to act one, scene one, and you start to think. And it takes you to that place where, you fantasize about it. That is where the problem lies. That's where the sin is. So it's not what goes into you, it's what comes out. It's your response, it's your reaction. So how do you deal with that? And let me just say something. I had a conversation with someone this evening who really enlightened me and shared some stuff with me. I'm really thankful for that person. And one of the things they were saying is that you have to stay away from the thing or the person that caused the feeling. You have to get busy. I think that's the word. Get busy. You see, because sexual energy, you want to expend it, especially for men. When men feel that way, they feel like they need a release. But it's energy, it's pent-up energy. And energy can be expended in many different ways. Go out in the yard and start cleaning the yard. That thing that you're putting off for a long time. Go and clean the yard. Women, clean the house. Those things that you leave until Christmas, start doing that. Replace that energy, that feeling with something. Expend the energy some other way. Stay away from the things that cause these feelings, like these TV shows you want to watch with these love making and all these things. Stay away. Those are the things that stir up your emotions. Stay away. If you're not talking to somebody causes that feeling, stop talking. Block their number. If you know hanging around people, certain people causes that feeling to go, stop liming, stop texting, stop doing the thing. We have to fight, but we give in too easily. We have to fight. And so I just wanted to deal with those two things before we move on, because these feelings come naturally. They are given by God, but everything that God gives us is to be used in the right way. We feel that everything belongs to us, and that's why we have things like fornication and adultery, because I feeling horny, so I must go and find somebody. I must have sex with somebody. I attracted to him, so I must have sex with him. I'm attracted to her. And we feel that this feeling belongs to us. They belong to God, and everything that God gives us must be presented back to him. It must be given to him. And how do we do that? By doing it the way he said it should be done. So a man should leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, not to his friend's wife, not to somebody else's wife, not to somebody else's husband. Cleave to them, and only they have the authority. Only they fall under the covenant of marriage. Only they are authorized to have sex. I hope you get that. Any questions, anybody? Any comments based on what I just shared? Now, don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. We're talking, we're adults here. We are talking for too long. We have shied away from talking about sex. We used to say things like the S word and the, different things. Let's be real. Questions, comments? First Lady, you'll tell me?
Yes, Dr. Richard. Sister Yene? Sister Yene, hand is up. Sorry, Sister Yene, you can unmute now.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question that is based on something that I've heard 2 times now. It was 2 different married couples, one that was significantly younger, one that was older. And the man in particular was speaking about like a urgency that he felt like we need to get married as soon as possible because these feelings, they need somewhere to go, And I just, in my mind, I could be wrong. In my mind, I felt like why it's sounding like the reason, because especially the younger couple, it came across to me like that was the reason he felt like they needed to get married. And the reason they needed to get married so soon was because of the feelings, not necessarily, so I'm trying to figure out, in my mind, what I'm really trying to ask is, do you feel, what is your perspective on that? How do you feel about that idea of like, listen, we need to get married as soon as possible because of these feelings? Is that good reason? Is that like a genuine, you'll really be going through it? Like, I don't know.
All right, good question. The scripture does say that, Paul told them, he said, it's better to get married than to burn with desire. And while that may be so, again, we have to understand what marriage is. And that's why we have a lot of problems. We talked about one before, where before marriage, things are nice and hot, and then you get cold during marriage. Why? Because people don't understand what marriage is about. Marriage is not just about sex. And if you get married for sex, you're going to have a problem, because one day that may not be possible anymore, especially as you grow older, or something may happen. One of you gets in an accident or some sort of disease or something. What happens then? If the foundation of your marriage is sex, and that is one of the reasons, let me say it, let me say it here. And one of these days we're going to get into it. And I want to be very careful because it's a very controversial topic, or at least what I'm going to say here. People have said over and over, and they look at the scripture and they draw it from the scripture, that the only grounds for divorce is adultery. That is having sexual relations outside of marriage with somebody else. If that is so, then marriage is about sex. Let me say that again. If the only grounds for divorce is adultery, having sex with someone else, then your marriage is based on sex. And I don't think that's what God is saying. But so many marriages are based on sex. So many marriages. And once one person violates that, as far as they're concerned, the marriage is broken. I could divorce you. We could leave because your marriage is based on sex. And that is not what marriage is about. I'm only saying that. Now we will get into it another time because I really want to share my thoughts on divorce and remarriage. But I'm just giving you that little snippet of what I believe. So a lot of people have, on the flip side of that, a lot of people have remained in marriages because they say, well, he didn't commit adultery, I didn't commit adultery, so we can't get divorced. No, I'm not pushing divorce, I'm advocating divorce. But when you say that as well, you are saying that the sex act or sex is what holds marriage together. And that is not scriptural. I don't have time to go into the details now, but I'm saying to you, too many people hold sex as the thing, the binding thing in a relationship. So it's a reason for them to not get divorced, or it's a reason for them to get divorced. And I'm saying it's not so. It's not so. Okay? So, and I'm saying that to answer your question. Sex should not be the reason why people get married. Marriage is way more than sex. Much, much more than that. Because there are some marriages that it is not even possible for sex to take place right now. Maybe the man has a problem. He's impotent, or he's suffering from the politically correct thing is ED, erectile dysfunction. A woman may have, I have counseled people where women are frigid, and they're frigid not because they want to be, but because of things that have happened in their life before. They may have been raped, or they may have been abused, and there's no sex in the marriage. Does that mean that the marriage has to fall apart? No, you work it out and you deal with it. So sex, while it is important to a marriage is not, let me use the word just. Marriage is not just about sex. Marriage is a whole lot more than that. So you don't get married because you want to have sex. You want to have the license to have sex now. And that is why premarital counseling is important. That is why when you're going to get married, most people, all they're concerned about is the wedding day and all the plans, and they spend all the money, they put everything into the wedding day, into the wedding. And the marriage, they don't focus on the marriage. So when problems arise, when issues arise, when things arise, they don't know how to handle it because they never were counseled. They never talked about it. So I say to you, and again, in answer to the question, do not get married because you want to have sex. It can destroy your life and the life of the person that you're going to get married to, or you're getting married to. All right, so.
Dr. Richards, as you're saying, I just want to quickly say something, and one of the things as well to add to what you're saying, Dr. Richards, is that when we get married, one of the things that we should look for is that person who brings out the best in you, that person who makes you want to become a better version of yourself, that person who teaches you. You're growing with that person and you're looking at your life and you're realizing, I am actually wanting to be better because of you. this person is adding value into your life. You understand, Dr. Richards? And I'm saying that I'm talking about it and I'm thinking of you at the same time. Because I have had other what you call boyfriends, and I was about to be married before I met you. And thank God for Jesus. And when I look back on those other relationships and what I have now with you, I can say that what we share is love. Because here comes this person, which is you, showing me that I can be somebody. Because there you were. Where I remember one of the things that you encouraged me, Dr. Richards, to go back to school. You encouraged me to further myself in that computer field. Because of that, I gained the knowledge from that, and it opened doors for me. Then meeting you, saying to me, I was a loud mouth, and there it is, I am, and you're saying to me, you don't have to be so loud. Family, I used to eat on the road, just a pack of nuts. I was very hungry. I remember one time, and I went and bought KFC, and I can't remember, Dr. Richards, I don't know what it was, and I opened that box of chicken and was eating just the leg because I was hungry. And Dr. Richards looked at me and I said, one piece. He said, no. And he was shocked to see me just eating this leg, walking, And to me, it was nothing, I was hungry. And then after a few days after, he said, why did you do that? And I was telling myself I was real hungry. And he said, okay. He said, it looks better to sit and eat rather than as a young lady walking and eating. And he took the time to explain. And I'm saying this, when you meet someone who encourages you to be better, and who you find that you of your own self, when you are in their presence, it makes you want to be better, not to please them, but to better yourself. When the two of you get together and decide to get married, you know what happens, Dr. Richards? And let me tell them. What happens is when you meet that person that brings out your best quality, and then you bring out his best quality or her best quality, and the both of you come together and become one, that sex becomes explosive. And it takes your relationship to another level. It means that's why scripture, that's why when you get married, people say this, and some people say, I don't want that in my marriage, but it means I love you so much that if you get sick, I am never going to leave you. I will be the one to take care of you. I love you so much that if ever you go into a financial problem, we're going to stick it out together. I'm not going to leave you. For better, for worse, whatever happens, it's going to happen together. There's someone said to Dr. Richards and I love you so much that wherever, if you are sleeping outside on the road, I want to sleep with both of you outside on the road because I love you so much, like my parents. Let me tell you something, family. Love is more than sex, because there's going to come a time that he's going to get old and she's going to get old. There's going to come a time you look at them and they just look funny. Things are just going to happen wrong. The breath might smell nasty in the morning. They might have all sorts of, they might pass away unexpectedly. But it doesn't mean that you're going to leave them. And we want to teach you that, Dr. Richards. We want to tell you, family, that love goes beyond sex. It's about that connection together that makes you, that's what you did with me, Dr. Richards. I don't want to preach. And I've always said to people, Doc, if they had what you and I have, there would never be divorce, because love is more than sex. And that's why, Doc, when you said it, and you said it right, when you get married for sex and there's no more sex, somebody has to go, because you're not tickling me to laugh well anymore. It's just it's not a big laugh. anymore. And Dr. Richards, you're right, we need to have a thing on this, and people need to be taught that love is more than that physical heartbeat. It's more than that wetness. It is more than that, fluttering and all these kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you, First Lady. Thank you. And it goes both ways, because she said you help each other be the best version of yourself. I've learned so much from my wife, and I can say today that I'm a better person because she has helped to make me better. We feed off each other. We encourage one another. We encourage each other to be better. And it's not just by saying, I want you to be better, When you love somebody, you want to be the best version of yourself for that person. And this is one of the things that we need to understand. And if sex is all there is, listen, when you get married for sex, that's what you know what you're saying to the person? That's what you mean to me. Somebody to satisfy my needs. Somebody that I can release, my tension, my sexual tension on. That's what you're saying. But marriage is more than that, and love is more than that. And we're going to continue talking about this because it's important. Too many marriages are falling apart. Someone's mic is open.
Yeah, Dr. Richard, I have I'm muting the mic. I'm muting it right now. We have Sister Carlene's hand is up, and you're right, Dr. Richard. And when they love like that, when you marry not for sex, even when there's no sex, you're not looking to go nowhere. We understand you're patient. Carlene hand is up, Dr. Richard.
Let me just say this before Carlene. You also have to be careful who you're getting your advice from, who you're getting your counsel from, who you're listening to. Is it from the television? Is it from Hollywood? Is it from the fellas on the block that you're liming with? Is it from the guys in the office or the girls in the office? You got to be careful, because a lot of us go into marriage or even have relationships based on what others say. And that is so, so wrong. I remember, now let's share this thing and then I go to Sister Carly. 3 things. I told you one the other day. Last night I was telling about this old person. She's 80-something years old, and she didn't know that, you could have sex in different positions. She didn't know that. She genuinely didn't know. And she was a grandmother. It means she had children and grandchildren. And as far as she knew, it was only one way to have sex. I remember going to a seminar years ago with married couples, many, many years ago, and a very prominent, I'm not even going to call his name, prominent gentleman, pastor in Trinidad and Tobago, during the seminar said that couples don't need to have sex every day. In fact, they could have sex once every 36 days. You telling married people, it's a married seminar, and you telling married people you could, you don't need to have sex every day. You could have sex once every 36 days. That's one thing. You gotta be careful who we take these things from. And one more I want to share with you. Another seminar we were having, and a pastor said, when we were having discussion, he said, listen to what he said. You should not use your hands when you are having sex. It is wrong to use your hands when you are having sex. That's what he said. He was not married at the time. He's married now with children. I wonder, I'm tempted a lot of time to ask him, but I said, look, let me not cause problem. So I'm saying to you, be careful to where you get your information from. Be careful where you get your information from. Sister Carlene, go ahead.
Good night, family. I'm just following on the conversation from Yanni onwards, and I do think that the challenge really is within Christendom is that there is more emphasis and pressure on marriage, especially when 2 persons are dating who are Christians. Is like there's such a pressure to get married, and especially when the desire to have sex is strong, there really isn't any consistent teachings on the practical strategies to resist, to use your wisdom in each of these situations that you may find yourself in, such as exercising self-control, fleeing, not putting yourself in the situation, or calling for backup, calling somebody for help. You know, some Christians, to be honest, we don't talk truth. We say we are blessed and highly favored when we are tempted, we're struggling, we're falling, and we're hiding. And that does not help. It doesn't help us as a body, because when you're struggling and you have gone through sexual temptations and you have conquered it, or maybe you haven't, but you would have learned strategies, you would have gotten experience, and these are things that you could talk about to others so that they are more equipped. And the scripture says, iron sharpens iron. So we really need to be real and stop giving a perception that if you have these sexual feelings, it is a sin. There are some churches that you're not even supposed to feel a certain way. If you have any sexual thoughts, you need to cleanse yourself, you need to do all these things. But God has made us with desires. But again, I'm just saying that the teachings is just not there, and we're just not talking truth. That's it.
Thank you very much. And that is so true. Why is it we find it so difficult to talk about sex? Why is it? And I think that is what the devil has done. He has caused us to look at this thing as so nasty and so, so bad. These feelings that we have that God gave to us, as Sister Colleen said, if you feel like that, you're sinful and you don't want to cleanse yourself. Why is it that we have that kind of mindset even within the church? We need to talk about it, because we're losing our children, we're losing our sons and daughters when we don't teach them. But my children are on this platform and they're hearing. And I want them to hear and I want them to know, because they're young men and they are of the age that they can be fathers. So then we need to talk about sex. It is not a taboo word, it's not a taboo thing. We need to talk about it, and we need to be real. We need to be real, because if we are not real, trust me, they will get their information. People will get their information from the wrong sources, as I told you. Somebody's mic is open, but please check that. They will get their information from the wrong sources. And when they get the information from the wrong source, you know what happens? It messes everything up. So we will, in this Live Right ministry, continue to talk and be real, because we don't want people in bondage. We want it to be free. Sex is not a bad word. Sex is not a bad word. I remember when I was growing up, there are certain things you couldn't say. And I remember, you see, pregnant, you see that word? That was like a taboo word. You don't say. You had to say, she's making a baby. That lady belly big, she's making a baby. But pregnant was like a curse word. That's how I grew up. That might not have been your experience. Why is it? It's only now in this day and age we have started calling body parts, penis and vagina, by the right name. When you were growing up, it's all kind of weird name you have for it. All kind of, and you all know that. Let us be real. Let us be truthful. Let us be open. That is the only way we will learn. That's the only way we will grow. That's the only way we will get the truth, by being real, not by hiding. Amen. I see we only have a few more minutes, so we're going to have to wrap up here this evening and continue. Any questions, anybody? Comments? No, we good?
Yes, Doctor, just no hands up. Everyone is in agreement, and they believe that it's true. Well said. They're enjoying the teaching tonight. God bless.
Well, wonderful. Well, we will continue tomorrow night, God's willing. Pick up right here where we left off. And yes, Sister Susan, I'm seeing things now. Yeah, we had all sorts of names. So I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the ministry tonight, the discussion. And feel free, I know some of you are shy, but there are things that you know that you can share with us. All right? Oh, I'm now seeing some of the I'm now seeing some of the expressions, the chats. Interesting. You see, you threw me off now. I don't even remember where I was. But just thank you so much. We'll continue tomorrow evening. We're going to continue to discuss. We're going to continue to talk about this thing because it has to be spoken about. We have to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, somebody else will come and talk about it and they'll talk about the wrong thing. So God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. I'm handing back over to First Lady who will close off. First Lady, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Richards. Just want to remind this family that we are going